what comes to mind today? Now, this may be a little bit too old for some of you. Okay, this may be a little too old for some of you. Mr. Rogers' Corner. You guys remember that guy, Mr. Rogers' Corner? When I put my sweater on and the little kids in the neighborhood, here, come play with me. Come play with me. Mr. Rogers, man, used to be this dude that used to come on, and he used to, really be cool with the little kiddies, right? By the way, 4 hours of big sales powered by BetUS. Start the program out with big sales and Mr. Rogers is the guy who used to have a TV show that used to have all the little sayings for the little kiddies. That's kind of like what you got going on with your Philadelphia Eagles. It's like Romper Room. Hey, Mike, would you like to have a fortnight? What? It's a football game. Mike, how about a fortnight? Why Avonte Maddox is getting annihilated. This guy's talking about playing computer. What's next, Jax? Mike, you want to play on a computer with me? You and me, we play on a computer. Got Darius Slay grabbing assing with Michael Parsons on a podcast. Hey, just curious. I mean, where's this accountability that Nick Sirianni talks about? Where's he talk about the accountability? I mean, seriously, what is the accountability? You got no leadership on that fucking football team. By the way, week 5 kicks off tonight. Falcons and Bucks, 2 teams that have already beaten the Eagles. But again, you've got a bunch of immature people on your football team, including a guy who wears a C. You got a bunch of guys on that football team that are absolutely soft. It's a soft environment. It's not a very tough environment. This comes down to the coach. You got guys not focused on winning. And you know what's funny? Xander is telling me, Sills, the modern guy today, social media is a big thing. It supersedes winning? And I'm not suggesting to you that Xander thinks that way, because he doesn't. As a matter of fact, he's got an old school mentality. Hey, man, it's one thing to have that. And I'm not against any of that. In the middle of a game? It's unbecoming of a championship quality team. You don't have championship leadership. You got a bunch of good players. Can I tell you what this reminds me of? Help me out here. Help me out here, man. This is another version of the Dream Team. This looks like the Dream Team 2.0. Bunch of great-looking players with no character. Man. I mean, it's like Dream Team. All starts at the top, too. All starts at the top. How can you tolerate this? How can you tolerate this? That you've got a football organization that has guys not focused in the middle of a football game talking to Mike Evans as Avonte Maddox is getting murdered. And I wonder if Darius Slay was thinking about his podcast coming up in a couple days following that game with the Buccaneers with Micah Parsons. These guys are so distracted. Their number one focus is not on winning football games any longer in Philadelphia. It's not on winning games. It is not on, and the quarterback is not a leader. He is the quietest voice in your locker room. He says nothing. The head coach holds nobody accountable. There's nothing but excuses. I've never seen anything softer in my fucking life. From the quarterback to the coach to the players on the team, nobody holds anybody accountable. Hey, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Get this. Some would say, Sills, it's a little thing. You got about 50 little things that are leading to big things. Damn. But then again, when you don't have a coach that anybody respects, that's what you get. You deserve this. Because you tolerate it. You fucking tolerate it. Your force goes like this. What would you like me to say nice about the fucking Eagles? Jesus Christ, dude. Do you really have to get a reach around before you get spanked for sucking? You really need to have that. Good grief. Toughen up. Toughen up. This is football, dude. This ain't some woke-ass game. Politics and religion have nothing to do with anything. Go fucking play. Go play game. That's a man's game. You're damn right, 007. Saquon Barkley's been a superstar. He's been a superstar, and I love I can't tell you how wrong I am about him. He is a superstar. That's right. That's a great take right here. Huff is Nnamdi Asomugha. Yeah. And starring as the role of the Dream Team 1 of Nnamdi Asomugha is Bryce Huff. Absolutely. I don't know who sucks more. I think Nnamdi's better. Dude, every day I come on the air, I swear to God, I didn't know anything about what Avante was doing in the middle of the game. People on my Twitter at Dan Sileo Show had to tell me. I go, what went on? Guy's asking to play computer games with Mike Evans in the middle of a game when he's getting his ass kicked. Avante Maddox got his ass kicked in that game. I'm trying to figure out where these dudes grew up that they're so soft. Dude, Sox, I don't know, man. I don't know. I sound like an old man here. Yeah, Gardner Johnson, that guy's a worm too. By the way, another guy is a one-year wonder. You know who he is? He's like that Bland guy that's on the Cowboys who gets burnt every time he drops back in coverage. Because he had all those pick sixes, everyone thinks he's good. He's not. Everyone thinks that CJ had all those interceptions that 1 year that he's a good player. He's not. He's absolutely not. Oh, and by the way, we have numbers to prove that Hurts will not get better. Your culture sucks. What about this Eagle culture you guys always talk to me about? Where is this fucking culture? They're acting like fans. They're acting like kids. Seals, team culture is the biggest thing, and it's hard to establish when you're built with free agents and mercenaries. They're more concerned with the name on the back of the jersey than the name on the front. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, your team is cooked because you have zero leaders. Hurts is not a leader. There's no leadership on your football team. It's evident. The way they act, the way they talk, the way they play. They don't hold Philadelphia in high regard. They don't care. Like Bob said, they don't give a shit where they play. Dude, that is the most disconnected football team Philadelphia has had in the last 25 years. Last 25 years, they could give a shit about the fans of Philly. There's like 6 guys on that team that do care. Rest of them don't. And you could blame Howie Roseman for that. You can blame him for this. Dude, this is not getting better. You will not have a good season with that environment and that mentality. Let's go grab ass later on, Mike, after you kick the fuck out of me. Holy shit, what a bunch of losers. It's a loser mentality, man. I mean, this fraternizing shit that team has, do you really have a desire to want to win, or is it about wearing the eagle wings? Is that what it's about? Doc Walker's going to join us at 3:30, part of the broadcast team for the Washington Commanders, 3-time Super Bowl champion. He will join us and we'll get his thoughts on the surprising Commanders. Not that we were surprised at all. We picked them to win the East. Right now, they're in sole place of the NFC East standings. And Jaden Daniels is killing it right now. And he's the best or how about this? He's playing the best quarterback of any quarterback in the East right now. And he's a rookie. Okay? And he's a rookie. Okay? He's a rookie. I mean, unbelievable. Swift. They will win the East. And he's going to be the rookie of the year. He's talking Commanders. Brian Johnson looks like he's doing one whale of a job with Cliff Kingsbury and developing of Jaden Daniels. Kudos to him. And we'll talk to Doc at 3:30 about that. You know the guy that you blamed for Hurts' failures and the team's offensive failures, even though they were 8th? Well, they're out to a great start. Senor says something great here again. Jaden Daniels is playing the best quarterback in the NFL, not just the East. It's great stuff. By the way, do you want me to hit the topic of Hurts not getting better and there's no chance of him getting better? Or do we start to put the blame and the whole blame on Howie Roseman? And I'll explain it to you and lay it out to you, my case. And what we like to do here is we have now officially indicted Howie Roseman for his failures on building the 2024 team. Okay? We are indicting him. I want to see if you convict him by the end of our comment. Which one do you want to do? They've been forcing this Fangio system down our throat for years, especially the last 3. Hopefully, Vic himself will be the last attempt we can get back to real football. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go with the indictment of the glorified CPA, Eagle GM Howie Roseman, or do you want to hit on the numbers with Hurts? Because they're pretty telling. Let's do the indictment of Howie Roseman here. Let's do Howie first. Off the top of my head, is there anybody on the team currently right now outside of Brandon Graham that's pre-2018 draft? Is there anybody? That's 6 years ago. Is there anybody on defense that's in the first 2 units that's on the team from the Eagle drafts? Prior to 2018, is there anybody on the team? Anybody on the team outside of Brandon Graham So in the last 6 years, you don't have anybody with any kind of tenure on that football team currently right now. Okay. That's one place to go. So in the last 6 years, it's all been the current stuff. Prior to that, there's nobody on the team. You find that to be an indictment. Team, Bob, yeah, I know offense. I'm asking defense. In the last 6 years, prior to 2018, Fletcher Cox was not drafted by fucking Howie Roseman, nor was Brandon Graham. Is there anybody on the team? No. You don't have one guy on the football team with 6 years or more experience prior to 2018. Prior to 2018, dickhead Reyes. No. Okay. So you have no veterans of 5 years or more. Okay. No one? Nobody. 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 Prior to the 2018 draft, you're still on the team. No one. Okay. Let's take a look at the 2024 construction of the team defensively. Let's go down the list of the first two units. Milton Williams, third-round pick. Pretty good. Like him. He's a good player. Is he a great player? No. He's a good player. Do you want him on your team? Yes. It's a good pick. Jordan Davis, the 13th pick in the draft, first rounder. Bust. Bust. Jalen Carter, 9th pick in the draft. Jury's still out. First round. Question mark. Quinyon Mitchell. Looks good. First rounder, we'll see. Incomplete. Really, this year you can't really say anything until you see him a couple of years. But then again, most guys don't stay long on the Eagles. They get rid of them because they're not ending up to be good players. They're just because, get this, you can't say Quinyon Mitchell's good because you have no history of keeping guys on your roster that you drafted. I agree with you guys. Quinyon Mitchell looks good, but I don't know. You have no history of anybody on the football team for a long period of time, especially on the defensive side of the football. You don't know if Quinyon Mitchell's going to be good. I'm giving you what your history is here. You don't want to hear this. You keep telling me Quinyon Mitchell's going to be good. You don't know that. You know why? Your history dictates you don't keep these guys, and they don't develop. Tell me I'm wrong. Flexing goes Q's the rookie. Will he be here 6 years or more? Really? You don't have anybody on the team right now currently with that status? Jalix Hunt, I don't know yet. We'll see. Third-round pick. Cooper DeJean, second-round pick. We'll see. You guys tell me they're good players. How do you know this? You have no history in the last 6 years to tell me that they're good. Get this. And Reyes is mad because I'm pointing out facts here. Watch, we'll continue. And Reyes is mad because I'm pointing out what you are and what you've done defensively. And why you're in the shape you're in. Nolan Smith, absolute bust. So there's 2 first-rounders in the last 3 years that are busts that are on your current team that can't help you win. See where I'm going here? Wait till I get to the free agents. I think the disconnect is Sirianni wanting to bench Jalen. Nick's offense is what gives him play calling duty. So how do we know if Nick is good or not? How do we know if Nick is good or not? You will never know if Nick is good or not. The front office doesn't care about coaching. It's interchangeable pieces. Sidney Brown be activated this week. I don't know. Keely Ringo, 4th rounder. Looks decent. Nakobe Dean, 3rd round, bust. So your young players, you've got a 1st-round defensive tackle that's a bust. You got an edge rusher that's a bust. And now you got a linebacker that's a bust. You got 3 levels of football here that you're talking about bust young players that you have to cover in free agency. The construction of the 24 team is a catastrophic failure by Howie because his picks of Nakobe Dean, Nolan Smith, and Jordan Davis are not good. Let's continue. Avonte Maddox, 4th rounder, always hurt, getting murdered. He's not good. Josh Sweat, decent. So you got Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Okay with those guys. They're good players. I'd want them on my roster. They're okay. He's no longer Avonte Maddox. He's Fortnite Maddox. We're not talking about character. We're talking about just playing here, but that's another case. So help me out here. Where are your young stars on your defense? Who are they? You have drafted in the last 3 years Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter with 1st-round picks, Nolan Smith with 1st-round pick, Sidney Brown with a 3rd-round pick who hasn't seen the field really, Keely Ringo a 4th-round pick, and Nakobe Dean a 3rd-round pick. These guys are nobodies. Let's get to free agency now. I'm talking about the 2024 defense and how it was built. Nobody is holding that guy accountable. This is his bullshit. You keep talking to me about Vic and his system. What about putting these garbage cans in a system? How's it supposed to work if you don't know what you're doing? That's all on Roseman. Hit the like button. Super chats go to the top. Sills, should we just trade all our first picks away every year so if we bust on 3rd and 4th rounders, doesn't hurt so bad? Actually, Jacob, I think they do a better job in the latter rounds. You know why? Because it's best player available then, and they don't have to overthink shit. I think they do a better job in later round picks than they do with their first round picks. I do. Because you know why? It's not rocket science. Dude, Cooper DeJean was a dumb pick. You should have took Wilson or you should have took Edrin Cooper. You needed a top flight linebacker. Drafting back-to-back corners is dumb. I kept telling you, you didn't address anything. You addressed needs in the draft. You did. Okay? Dude, Jeremiah Trotter, if he could play, he would be. Let's go to free agents that are on the 24 defense right now. Darius Slay. Whatever you want to say about him, he's been a great Eagle. He's been to a Pro Bowl. He's got a great reputation. He's not played great this year at all, though. Okay, 5th most completed yards on him this year. I personally think he's running out of gas. That's why he's posting his career stats, because he ain't the same player. He's not the same player. Look at me pointing this shit out. How is anybody else not pointing this out? Zach Bond, I guess. He's cheap and he's inexperienced. Bringing Zach Bond in and putting him in your starting defensive lineup, you think that's a championship move? Gardner Johnson has been below average. His picks were great in 22. His play wasn't. He's not that good a player. He's overrated and overhyped because of his mouth. He doesn't cash checks that his mouth writes. He's not a good player. Vic Fangio said it. Know your plays. Tackle better. How much more of an indictment do you need than the defensive coordinator of the current Philadelphia Eagles defensively telling you that he doesn't know his plays, he's not the smartest guy on the planet, and he can't tackle? What else do you want me to say? Davis, Carter, and Hurts need to go to delousing. The delousing room of the Oompa Loompas. Holy shit. Damn. The delousing room. I'm sure Bob Lang's got one of them. Get this. Look at this. Please tell me this is true. Fields, did you see Bryce? Cream Puff deleted all of his Eagle content from his socials. What a pussy. Got a whole team of them. Shit, I'd put Kim at inside linebacker in corner right now before I'd put any one of these people out there. Dude, you got a bunch of cream puffs on your football team. This is worse than the dream team. You're not getting better. No way. You know the mentality to get better or the want to get better. On the heels of a 33-16 beatdown, not practicing while other teams are during the bye week. We got lingerie football teams tougher than these bums. So they're not practicing this week? Shit, man. Hey, you know, my God almighty, I know this is going to be old man Dan here. Man, if we got killed like that, Jimmy Johnson would run our asses until we vomited. He would have beat our asses so bad. We got beat one time by the Washington Redskins, and he didn't give guys dinner on the plane ride home because they didn't show up to play. Man. Hey, it's dinner time. No, they're not eating. James Bradbury. Xander, I missed the super chat. I missed these super chats. So let me get to Marcus here. Hold on here. Let me get to Marcus. Damn, I missed 2 super chats, Xander. McKinney needs the league in INTs. Queen with tackles. Of course, the next, Sills, are Davis and Dean and Smith really trash, or is it because of the bad coaching? They're trash. You guys have it wrong. Howie can draft. You could see the players leave the Eagles and succeed. Howie drafts players that don't fit our football scheme. Yeah, because he thinks it's easier to do it that way. That's why. He believes in plug and play. Why did Huff and Puff really delete 1.5 tackles of his social? I don't care. Hey, he's deleted his career. Personally, I hope he deletes his locker. Honest to God. Did you, Brian Pumper? Read it. Let's make sure. I read that on the heels of the 33-16 beatdown. Yeah. Isaiah Rodgers. Okay. Got James Bradbury on the team. I don't know why. I'm still trying to figure out why Bradbury and Devin White are still on the team. I haven't figured that one out. You got Devin White and James Bradbury. Here are your free agents that are on the Eagles right now. Defensively. Slay, Bond, Gardner Johnson, Bryce Huff, Bradbury, Rodgers, and Devin White. Combined with the 2 first-round bust, a third-round bust, and guys underperforming in the draft in the last 4 years. And you don't have a player on your team prior to the 2018 draft defensively. This guy's a guru in drafting? Who fucking told you that? Prove this to me. That he knows what he's doing defensively. Prove it to me. Where is this guy a genius GM? Give me anything. Contracts? He's a glorified CPA. I know this already. I'm pretty good with numbers. You mean to tell me you're going to give me all the criminals and all your bosses? Like I said, I'm pretty good with numbers. That's who Howie is. He's like the Chinese guy in that Black Knight movie. I'm pretty good with numbers. I had to move the money without your permission. Show me where this guy's good. Do you realize that people tell you this shit and tell you he's a great builder of teams when he can't build a football team completely? Is this the owner? Is this Howie? Is this them just being negligent and not addressing the defense? I mean, what is it? Show me a positive on defense. You're going to say Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know that. Most players you draft don't play longer than 6 years on your defense. Show me. Show me where they're good. Now, I'll ask you, why doesn't that guy get heat? You know why? The Philly media is afraid. They're afraid. You can't, hey, I swear to you, show me anywhere. Belichick, Howie, leave the draft room. Go make me a sandwich. Reed was drafted? I must have missed that. And by the way you treat UDFAs, you mean like TJ Edwards, who's up in Chicago right now in the best linebacking core in the league? I must have missed Blankenship being drafted. Was he? Reed was the UDFA. Oh. Fuck, they have more success on undrafted free agents than they do in the draft on defense. Prove your point. Now, look, I've made my case. I indicted Howie Roseman for being an incompetent talent evaluator when it comes to free agents and it comes to drafting. Is he guilty? Yes or no? You don't have a guy in your football team from the 2017 draft or the 16 draft on defense. Nobody? How do you expect to build a balanced roster like Kansas City has? Nico goes only on defense. Well, don't complain about a system when you don't do and draft right and sign free agents right. Don't blame Vic Fangio for this. This is a Howie Roseman deal. It's not Vic. Well, Sills, he plays 10 yards off the ball and he has that too high safety. Well, you fucking knew it. Howie hired him too. So Howie hired the guy, gave him lesser talent to build the defense with, and you blame Vic. How? How are you blaming Vic for that? Here, I'll show you. M. Reyes is back to his absolutely asinine takes. What makes you think we want to be Kansas City clones? I don't know. Kansas City wanted to be New England clones. You're right, M. Reyes. Why would you want to be a winner? You know, yesterday you were good. Today you're just an absolute loser takes. Yeah, no. Why would we want to be Kansas City clones? I don't know. Andy Reid set the blueprint in Philadelphia on what you do today. A lot of the things you do right now because of what Reid did. Yeah, you're probably right, though. Why would you want to be Kansas City? I'd rather be the Jets. And Reyes would rather be the Jets. Great. Congratulations to you. Get this. This is even more right here of an asshole comment. Let me show you something here. Can't be Kansas City clones without Mahomes or a head coach like Reid. Okay. Well, Geno Smith is 3-1 in Seattle. Sam Darnold's 4-0 in Minnesota. Baker Mayfield's 3-1 in Tampa. Kirk Cousins is 2-2 in Atlanta. And Derek Carr is 2-2 in New Orleans. What do these guys all have in common? They're not elite quarterbacks. Some of them are having really good years. I mean, the dollar store quarterbacks are leading the way in the NFC. The $50 million guys aren't. What's going on in Minnesota? Well, got Brian Flores, got that head coach up there, is a great play caller. What's going on in Tampa? Jason Light, Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield. I'm not saying that that's superstar status, but they beat the fucking doorknobs off you 2 straight games. With Lane and without Lane. Okay? I mean, these quarterbacks aren't superstar quarterbacks. They got their teams winning. By the way, Two teams playing tonight beat the Eagles with backup quarterbacks. So when you say you need Mahomes, that's not necessarily the truth. You couldn't beat a backup quarterback in Baker Mayfield, even without stars. You're not going to win many games. I mean, a walk-on quarterback owns the Eagles in the last two games. Here, big rhythm. If I'm Vic, I'm benching guys like Maddox. Talking to Evans about Fortnite when you're getting blown out. Oh, you better clear that with the CPA. You got to clear that with him first. I know that he's taking directive now from Howie because nobody would, in their right mind, say Bryce Huff's getting better. So back to the point here about Howie. Have I made my case? This guy doesn't know what he's doing defensively. I've been saying it for 4 years. 22 was as much of a one-year wonder for Jalen Hurts as it was for Roseman, because he's not done anything remotely close to that since 22. What's his top flight defensive player that he assigned since 22? Can you name him? No, every quarterback you mentioned has had a head coach that specializes in either. It's a great take here, Prince. Offense or defense. Our head coach specializes in nothing. This is a spectacular take. It's a great take. You're right. The Seattle coach is a defensive-minded guy. The Vikings have two head coaches up there right now, Brian Flores and the offensive coach. The Bucs, Todd Bowles, spectacular on defense. Get this, you got beat by a coordinator who has only coordinated 4 games using Baker Mayfield, and you couldn't beat a first-year coordinator who has never had the experience. He was less experienced than Brian Johnson. And he beat you with a backup quarterback. You couldn't win with that? With your star quarterback. You don't think that's a problem? Really? It'll get better when those guys get back. No, it won't. Not when you have the lack of leadership. Fortnite Maddox. And grab-ass Slay. Baker's not a backup. Get this. Baker's not a backup. No, he's just been on 4 teams in 4 years. Cleveland, Carolina, the Rams, and the Bucs. He's not a backup quarterback. Sam Darnold's not a backup quarterback. Jets, Carolina, San Francisco, Minnesota. So the 2 guys right now that are leading their division have been on 4 teams, but Matt thinks they're not backup quarterbacks. Okay? Well, what would you call them, Matt? Journeyman? What would you call them? Well, they beat your top flight guy. Guy's playing tonight. Falcons and the Bucs have beaten you already. Well, we're missing our guys. We don't have very good coaches. Here we go again. Kimbo. Vic should have sent them all to fat camp on the bye. So you're saying, hey, Kim, so we should have sent them the Weight Watchers, right? Send them the Weight Watchers. I ask you one last time before we close this topic up. Where's Howie's responsibility? Why doesn't anyone hold him? Coaches get blamed, players get blamed. Like John McMullen says, Where's the fucking GM in this? This is his mess. He created all this. Poor free agents and poor drafting. There's no excuse for this. He doesn't know what he's doing. No one will say it but this show. No one will say this. He can't sign guys and he can't draft guys on defense. Plain and simple. He's actually never been able to. There's not one guy on this football team prior to the 2018 draft on defense. The fuck more do you want? This is all fact. You want to know why Jeff Kerr says you have a revolving door on defense and you'll never be consistent on that side of the ball? It's because of exactly what I just pointed out. He can't draft and he can't sign defensive players. He's a glorified CPA. This guy's scamming you. He's great on contracts. You know why that looks? Dude, the money, always follow the money. That's going to make him look better than anybody signing all those offensive guys. No shit, it will. The way they construct those contracts, nobody said he's not a good CPA or a good accountant. But when it comes to player personnel, he sucks. He's not what you think. And someone's going to go, well, they do a good job on the O-line. Well, Jesus, you got the best offensive line coach in pro football. I mean, hopefully you lean on him. Where are you? I was told all summer I was full of shit that the defense would be addressed. And it was addressed. And everything, like, the Huff move was going to cover for Reddick. Quinion was going to cover for Bradbury being bad. Dean was going to step. All that is a lie. With no sight of it improving. Guilty. Lock him up. That's a broom closet move. So you mean to tell me most of your defensive players don't have any longer time on this team than 6 years? Why is that? You don't have player development. You know why you don't have player development? You don't keep your coaches long enough. You should have kept that Denard guy as your coordinator. Tell me I'm wrong. This wasn't a very hard thing to dissect, actually. I don't really think I'm breaking science. What I'm doing here is I'm just reiterating what I've been telling you for the last 3 years. You know how many times, even Xander to a point, John and everyone, tell me this guy's really a good drafter. I don't believe it. I never have. I've never believed that. I've never believed that. When it comes to player personnel, he's John Lynch. They do a better job in Green Bay. Brian Gutekunst, he's better. Nick Caserio in Houston's better. They need help in personnel defensively. He don't get it. They need a defensive coach or somebody that has autonomy in drafting. He can't be Roseman having to find. Nick says he has the final say in the draft room. He can't have the final say. They've all been disasters. How long are you going to keep this going, Jeffrey? That you give a guy autonomy on your drafting of defensive players and they all suck. And 90% of your free agents blow. I'm not sure what else to say here. I feel like I'm piling on now. You keep telling me about Vic. This ain't a Vic problem. This is organizational. This is analytics. This is going to the combines and being enamored by a guy running a 4.8 at 350 pounds instead of looking at his game tape and going, he wasn't very productive at Georgia. Well, he played on a national title team. So the guy at Wake Forest for the Rams had 9 sacks last year, and he was a third rounder. I mean, I don't know what else to say here. You keep asking me, Sills, is it going to get better? How? And when Howie to go into the, you know why Howie does somewhat decent when it comes to pro personnel? Because there's players that have been in the league that have proven they could stay in the league. He's never developed anybody. What defensive tackle have they developed? Milton? Kind of. Josh? Okay. What linebacker have they developed in the last 6 years? None. What corner have they developed in the last 6 years? None. What edge rusher have they developed in the last 6 years? None. And you wonder why your defense is in the shape it's in? It's not scheme. It's the people. It's the Jimmies and Joes. Dude, they don't watch college football. They watch the combines. The combines to them are huge. Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis are combine draft picks. They're not player draft picks. Jordan Davis, day was drafted. I said he's not a bad player. However, his production stinks. He had that list of talent or tackles and sacks in 3 years. I don't know. And he's never been productive. And most guys stay on the Eagles on defense for 6 years. Tops. That's your trend. You have nobody on the team from the 2017 in the last 10 years. Think about that. Organizations that draft have a bunch of players longer than 6 years on their team. They're called core players. So when you go like this, Sills, in the offseason here, or the bye, I should say. Here in the bye, Sills, what are they working on? They sent them home. The Eagles sent them home. So you sent the guys home after a performance like that because they deserved it? They're not working on anything because they don't think nothing's wrong. And they think when the players get back, it'll be fixed. It won't be. To Denny's point, isn't it funny? The only defensive player with tenure is the best defensive player right now. Remember what Xander said to us yesterday? Sills, you know, it took Brandon Graham a long time to develop into being a good player. He's still a good player. You think there's any coincidence to allowing development, keeping and holding a player, and keeping and developing him, keeping and developing him, keeping and developing him? Eagles don't do that. They get rid of him. Even their UDFAs, like TJ Edwards. Well, he's not that good. It's a scheme. They're finding out right now the scheme's not that good. They play a lot of that scheme in the NFL. I think you got to have quality linebackers. And I think you have to have man corners to play that scheme, not zone corners. And you have to have pressure. Okay? You have to have pressure. Mike Evans said, playing versus our defense was like playing training camp. Defense is ass cheeks right now. Yeah, those guys were playing so far off the ball. Nobody was challenged or contested. Seals clean house. Hire a real draft guy. Belichick and head coach Gruden, OC, assistant head coach, Vrabel, DC. Gruden would be great. I'll get to that in a minute too, head coach, but Laurie would balk. Gruden gets the offense and Jalen Hurts for the rest of his contract. By the way, I was really happy to see when I put that poll question on my Twitter page that over 60% of the people that I polled would want John Gruden to be the head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't give a fuck about anything unless it's got anything to do with winning. I don't care about Fortnite. I don't care about podcasting. I don't care about any of that shit. You got to win football games, especially when you're making the amount of money you're making. You imagine this? This fits Jeffrey Lurie's pocketbook too. You would get a head coach who, if he had, get this, let's do this. Hey, Bob, I'll ask you this question. If John Gruden didn't have those emails, I'll ask all of you this question. Eagles lose against the Browns. Would he get fired? No way. Let me ask you this for just a question here. If John Gruden didn't have those emails, how much money do you think John Gruden would be making right now as an NFL head coach? Think he'd be making more than Sean Payton or as much? That's $20 million. That's $20 million. Bob, you think John Gruden would be making $20 million a year? By the way, when he was fired, he was making 15. He was making 15. And he had a $100 million contract with the Raiders. You know what you could get him now for? You could probably get him less than Sirianni. You mean to tell me I could get John Gruden for $5 million to coach the Eagles? Shit. Hey, look, dude, if you can cover up for a guy sexually harassing somebody at a Phillies game, like the Eagles have, you can make this go away too. You know how you do it? Just control the media like you do. Be all right. Just like you did with Michael Vick. You could do it. They do it all the time. They'll call a couple media outlets. They'll threaten my bosses. They'll threaten all the media guys about their press credentials. John Gruden could be the job and get the job. It's simple. They know how to do it. Herr Bob Lang knows what he's doing. Chief Propaganda King. He knows what to do. You can fix that in a minute. Seals, with Gruden, with what Gruden did in Oakland and Tampa, absolutely. The only issue with Gruden is he's not a big fan of young players. Yeah, I know. Which means he's not a fan of Howie. Which means he's not a fan of playing people who are not experienced, not ready to go, and people who don't know what they're doing. Gee, what a novelty. What a novelty. He put two teams in a Super Bowl at one time. Gruden would come here and turn out the whole upper management day one. I don't know. John's been neutered pretty good. I think you'd get the best behavior John Gruden and the hardest working John Gruden. Hey, look, man. They give everybody an opportunity to play in that league. No matter if you rape somebody or you beat your kid like Tyreek Hill. Everybody deserves an opportunity at a second shot. There's players that have played for him like Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp who swear by him. John Lynch, too. Who the fuck are the media guys? All they care about is a story. They don't care about reality. Were they off-colored emails and fucked up? Absolutely. Should you be talking like that? Absolutely not. But those players played for him. But I don't know that Jeffrey Lurie would have the balls to do it. He'd go hire somebody that's another reach so that he could control. You could control. John is cheap, and you would get him at a discount rate. And plus, you know what he's going to do? He's going to hire Amani Kiffin. He's not going to play that stupid-ass too-high safety. Gruden's going to get after people, and they're going to go get Max Crosby. Who brought Max Crosby into the Raiders? Just curious. Real issue with Gruden emails is that he attacked Goodell. Absolutely, that's the only reason. It's not because he attacked black players. He said some off-color comments about Demarius Smith, head of the NFLPA. It was about, and by the way, what happened to Goodell was they were hoping to indict John Gruden and save Daniel Snyder. They couldn't do it in the end. That's why the emails came out, because Daniel Snyder released them. And then guess what happened? Bruce Allen released them on Daniel Snyder, and that's what got Daniel Snyder out of there. You understand? I know these men. Bruce Allen is a dear friend, but on this program. I've known Bruce Allen 45 years. Bruce Allen is the guy that outed Daniel Snyder and how he lost. You know who his brother was, right? He was the governor of Virginia. You don't think he's got a lot of pull in Washington? George Allen was the head football coach in Washington. He took over for Lombardi. I mean, when he went after the wrong people. By the way, I'll say this about Josh Harris. Kudos to Josh Harris. We're going to talk to Doc Walker at the bottom of the hour here. But Josh Harris has turned around an organization that was in peril. They're in first place in the NFC East. Kudos to him. Magic Johnson. Adams, the general manager. They're turning it into a winning environment again. They kept Doug Williams. Oh, by the way, Doug Williams was hired by John Gruden and Bruce Allen in Tampa. You know why Doug Williams is considered more of a Washington Redskin today than a Buccaneer. Even though he went to the playoffs 4 of the 5 years he was quarterbacking in Tampa for that racist Hugh Culverhouse. Because Joe Gibbs loved him. And because Bruce Allen and Jay and John Gruden said that guy needs to be an executive in the Washington Commanders organization. And he's still there through ownership and general managers. We'll get to Hurts next. Don't ever tell me Howie Roseman knows what he's doing in the draft. Where? Where in the defensive side of the football does he know what he's doing? Stop. You have no proof of this. You have no proof of this. You have no proof. Sills, there are people who don't want to come work for these assholes. It doesn't matter how much money they're paid. Because they can't coach and do their job. When you become a coach in Philly, you're not a coach. You're an administrator. You're an administrator. It's crazy to hear how the Eagle organization puts these coaches in the firing squad line to mask their inabilities to bring proper people in here to coach and to play at a consistent level. Some would go, Sills, they win a lot. They do a lot of things right. They do. But you know who the Eagles are? Like I said a couple days ago, they're like the old Atlanta Braves. Win a lot of regular season games. They got one title to crow about, and the rest of it has been underachieving. Well, John McMullen says not everybody can win the Super Bowl. Okay. So the Rams, who won one in St. Louis and won one in Los Angeles and relocated, have two. What's your excuse? You understand? They've relocated from St. Louis to LA and have two. What's your excuse? I'm like, they moved their entire football team from St. Louis to Los Angeles. Not everybody can win a Super Bowl. Then what the fuck are we doing here? Give me a break. It's a theatrical show. And that guy in a Hollywood guy, he's a producer. He's trying to produce the best show he can for his fans. That's what Jerry does. See that helicopter thing? Jimmy Johnson, if that guy would have ever done that, Jerry Jones, to have practiced with Jimmy Johnson, he would have got a bazooka and shot that helicopter out of the sky. I mean it. Jimmy would have put that shoulder harness on, and he would have shot that helicopter out of the sky. You know what he would have said? 9 on 7. Yeah. 9 on 7. Let's get to it. Pieces of the helicopter everywhere. Hollywood Howie. He's such a child. God, man. I can't stand that guy. It's more so because he's a Gator, but I can't stand that guy. Hey, it's probably because he's a Gator. But what I can't stand is the media people trying to portray to you that he's a good drafter. I mean, anytime you hear that from now on, I want you to just chuckle and go, prove it. Hey, well, Quinton Mitchell looks good. Yeah, we'll see if he's on the team in 6 years. Nobody is. Yeah, nobody on your team. And the best player on your team is the guy who's been on the team 10 plus years. You think there's any coincidence your best players the last 2 years have been Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham because they were 10-year veterans? Hello? I mean, this is too easy. Holy shit. Who's been talking to you for 35 years? This can't be real. I feel like I'm in a kindergarten class teaching a fan base that what you've been told is bullshit. I mean, I just wrote shit down on a piece of paper. The Philadelphia, and not Marcus Hayes, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the 2 radio stations, that NJ whatever thing, they lie to you. She said he shouldn't have done what he did, but fans got under his skin. That count blames us for his actions. Holy shit. I thought the bye week was going to be a little quiet. I did. I thought it was going to be a little quiet. Jalen Carter wrecked the Saints game. Graham ever done that? No, he just wrecked the Super Bowl. No, he just wrecked the Super Bowl. So you think Jalen Carter's going to get an Eagle jacket, a green jacket? Graham's getting one. I know, Chip. I don't want to do that to Carter either, because I actually have great hope for him too. But it's aggravating to watch what he does against the Saints. And then you know what he's doing? He's sucking on his mom's nipple down in Tampa. Kids from Florida, too. Tells the Hollywood angle works. They love opening night, free agents, and winning the Academy Award. But they do really well at the box office. Producers, coaches come and go. Yeah, just like actors, and Jeffrey Lurie looks at coaches and players like he does Hollywood producers and actors. Got to get new for every movie. That's how he looks at it. Stephen Ross, the guy who owns the Dolphins, he's an art collector. That's how he looks at commodities too. Coaches come and go, players, that's how a lot of these billionaires look at it. Not football people. How could they be football people? I'm clipping these last 30 seconds, Cells. It's not funny. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. It's not funny. It's absolutely pathetic. And again, the reason for the topic on Howie was I kept having people text me and ask me, Sills, how are you going to fix this? Well, how do you fix shitty at drafting? Wasn't his Vic's responsibility? My God, guys. How are you going to fix something with bad players? Very much, Sills. It's funny to think that these are NFL players who are still not prepared when the season starts. Or focused. What Avonte Maddox and Slay did over the last 4 days has nothing to do with preparation. It has everything to do with focus. You know what? Hey, Tony, because it's funny and sad and pathetic. Howie thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Absolutely, Forrest. In most cases, he's not. You want to put a contract together? You want to tell me how to do my taxes? You want to give me the Trump tax break? He probably knows that. But when it comes to drafting players, do me a favor. Go make me a sandwich. By the way, Howie, can you go get me the new tax code for PA? Or do we have to wait until after the election? You probably know that one too. Or maybe I should get to Jersey tax code. Pathetic. Our DBs will never have the mentality. Malcolm Jenkins. Actually, I like Q talking shit to Mike Evans. Evans would end up in the game with 8 catches for 95 yards or whatever it was. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Mike got in a touchdown. Mike got his way at the end. Still, I don't mind the kid. I think there's a lot of promise with him. I'm good. I'm good with him. Still shit on Jenkins when he was here too. I wasn't covering your team then. Howie's your guy with the cap and the contracts, but football decisions, nah. That's where we need Brett Veach. By the way, Brett Veach doesn't do contracts. They have a capologist for that. Man, I'll tell you something. Let me say this to you. Here's my impression of Howie. Howie, you're going to the broom closet. But why? Well, we're going to give total control to someone else. Damn it. Man, if I ever get a chance to get my job back again, I'll never let anybody in my sandbox again and play with my shovel and toy. No way. My pail and my shovel are going to be only mine. No one's going to play with it. You may be able to sit in my sandbox, but you're not going to play in my sandbox, Doug, or anyone else. Because if you do, I'm going to kick you out. Nobody. I'm going to handle all the players, the contracts. I'm going to tell the media everything they need not to hear. And I'm going to hire the coaches so everybody loves Howie Roseman. Mike didn't achieve those numbers against Q. Okay. Anybody you recommend to do personnel? John Dorsey. He built the Chiefs and he built the Browns. He didn't sign Deshaun Watson. He signed Baker Mayfield. Who do you think the Browns would rather have now? Mayfield or Watson? I would never let anybody play on my sandbox ever again. How you do? I would never. Are we crazy? See, he just hates me because I'm a Gator. True. It does start there. So you might have hooked your cart to the wrong horse. This team won't be good for a long time. I don't believe that. Anthony Q and Milton Williams, only D players worth a damn. Carter has been so disappointing. He hasn't been right since they fired Desai. Horrible defense. Never thought about that, Anthony. That's a pretty damn good take. Thank you very much for the super chat. Desai was his coordinator. He was on the way to winning the Rookie of the Year award. Till they derailed that too. Isn't it funny what they did? They derailed Jalen Hurts' development. Then they derailed Jalen Carter's development. They had the right coordinator for Carter. Then they yanked all that out. Carter lost the Rookie of the Year. And Jalen's now 13-9 in the last 22 games. Howie was classic Napoleon complex. Hey, Kim, you ain't dating a guy 4'11". I can promise you that. You could eat a bowl of soup off his head. Hey, Kim, I can guarantee you're not dating a guy you could eat a bowl of soup off his head. I'm assuming that ain't happening, right, Sue or Kim? I'm assuming that, right? How he's seen too much success to go back to the pre. He would probably threaten to go to another team, and Laurie would cave and keep him. Yeah, right. You know why? What's the most important thing he does? You know the most important thing Roseman does? He watches the owner's wallet. And he goes to the directive. Build the offense, sacrifice the defense. This is why the Eagles haven't won more Super Bowls. Do you ever wonder why teams like New England and Kansas City? Think about something here, for instance. The New England Patriot dynasty is the greatest dynasty of all time. And here's why. They built that 6th Super Bowl championship off of no first rounders. They were free agents and 6th rounders. There's very few first rounders on that offense. Much of the defensive guys early in Brady's early career were brought in by Carroll. The Vrabels, the Brewskis. They were all drafting later round guys and free agents and landing on them and not spending a ton of money. That dynasty had to be the cheapest dynasty of all time. You got dickheads like Colin Cowherd saying that Belichick can't draft. Well, fuck, dude, you didn't just draft. And it wasn't just Brady. You had to have defensive guys. And you had to get Richard Seymour in the room. You had to get players who were defensive players of the year. I mean, look at Kansas City. They just got rid of the corner, Snead. Why? Because they're confident they got replacements. By the way, don't forget, bottom of the hour, Doc Walker, part of the broadcast team for the Washington Commanders, 3-time Super Bowl champion, will be with us, and we'll talk Commanders. First place, I predicted it. I said Commanders would win the East. Well, they're in first place, 3-1 right now, playing the best football of any team in the East. That'll be with us here in a minute. Xander will join us at 4:30. That's right. Look at this. Anthony coming strong today. Guys, please hit the like button. Trading Hill extended Mahomes' dynasty for 5 years. Amen. They took all that draft commodity that they got from the Dolphins and rebuilt the offense and rebuilt the defense. Second, third, and fourth rounders, and also the first rounders were used on the defensive side for Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo might be the second best coordinator in the last 45 years next to Belichick. He's got 4 Super Bowl rings. Steve Spagnuolo is going to the Hall of Fame. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame as an assistant coach with 4 rings. He'd have a better shot there, and he probably understands politics. Christopher Howie, he understands how an organization's run. Patriots made it to the Super Bowls 80s, 90s. The Eagles just trash. Eagles are underachievers because the owner much would rather have control than championships. Look at many things Bob Kraft did that were sensational, and I think Clark Hunt's doing the same thing in Kansas City. You know what they are? Getting out of the way. The only time that Bob Kraft parachuted in to resolve issues was Spygate, Deflategate, Garoppolo, Brady leaving, and the exit of Belichick. Other than that, he wasn't involved in any decision-making whatsoever when it came to the building of the Patriots. They had no say in personnel. Scott Pioli was in the building. Then Nick Caserio was in the building. I mean, he put those personnel people in there. Like I said to you before, you think there's any coincidence that Houston's now rebuilding? Look at what Caserio's doing down in Houston. Any coincidence to that? Hey, by the way, you think there's any coincidence? Hey, James Jones, are you in here? Washington Commander fan. Number one Washington Commander fan. By the way, again, Doc Walker's going to join us in a couple minutes here. James Jones, are you in here? What was the one thing that separated the Washington Commanders from so many teams in the league? Do you know what it was? Besides the great Joe Gibbs? Jeff wants toys, not trophies. What's the one thing Washington had during that run when they were one of the elite teams in the National Football League? What was the one thing they had? Can you think of the name? Physical O-line. The Hogs. James, I'm going to say a name to you. It's a dear friend of mine. Let's see here. He's since passed on. And I think I could show it to you. He's passed on, so, I mean. Hey, James, do you remember that guy? Bobby Beathard? Bobby Beathard and Joe Gibbs built that dynasty with 3 different quarterbacks winning Super Bowls for Joe Gibbs. Who doesn't know that name? Well, I didn't see anybody posting it. Bobby Beathard was the architect of those Washington Commander teams. He was also in the room with Don Shula when they were building those 70 Super Bowl teams. You understand that? Bobby Beathard was hired from Don Shula and the personnel department in Miami. Then he went up to Washington and built those 3 Super Bowls. Bobby Beathard's responsible for 5 Super Bowls. You're going to win a ton of games. Look at the New York Giants back in the day with George Young. Even Reese. Those guys were classic Wellington Mare personnel guys. Now, who you have had? That trash can Dave Gettleman, and now you've got that idiot Joe Schoen. You want to know why the Giants are a train wreck? Those 2 men. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing personnel-wise. Zero. Zero idea what they're doing. By the way, our friend Doc Walker's going to join us in a couple minutes. Part of the broadcast team. Covers the Commanders in Washington, D.C. and has for about 3 decades. And he's going to join us here in a couple minutes, and we're going to get his thoughts. Former UCLA Bruin, dear friend of mine. I love him to death. Till then, you still. Sills, here's the other thing that Belichick did. He traded or released players a year too early. Absolutely. Richard Seymour is a great example of that. Instead of a year too late, his focus was team, even though he had an ego. Absolutely. Belichick was always looking for value. He wasn't going to get value on players when he knew that they were not going to return anything of any kind of substance. He knew that. I'm gonna say it one more time to you. Before I bring Doc Walker up here, you know, the thing that Doc had, that every team you have to look around the league today, if you don't have anybody like Bobby Beathard in the room, working with a guy like Joe Gibbs, and get this, if you don't have the 3-headed horseman, an owner, a coach, and the quarterback, you're not winning. I don't care what era it is. You're not winning. You know, you look around the league, you go, well, who has that dynamic? Well, Clark Hunt, Mahomes, Spagnuolo, Reed. How about the good organizations? I'll tell you what. You don't have to have just Mahomes. I'm going to bring Doc in here in a minute. I'm going to show you guys one last thing here. Geno Smith is winning in Seattle. Is he a $50 million quarterback? No. He's been pretty good up there. Sam Darnold is a journeyman. He's 4-0. Baker Mayfield's 3-1. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were on the same Carolina crap dump a year ago. I'll tell you something. I think fans, I get a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that watch the show that tell me, Sills, will we ever get better? I said, yeah. When you get leadership in the front office, I love Adams. When you get leadership in the front office and you were able to get an owner in there that understands putting proper people in right positions and you have a good dynamic with Magic being involved in this thing, then you get the quarterback. Can you imagine Washington, D.C. good again? Let's bring in a guy who was during those times when they were champions and they were constantly in the room for being considered around the rim when it came to winning Super Bowls. Doc Walker, who's been covering the team for decades, and also on top of that, owner of 3 Super Bowl rings. Our dear friend joins us now, and long time coming, Doc.